Welcome. Today, I want to do a short video about how to use a burette. A burette is a graduated glass tube used for delivering very accurate volumes of liquids. It is typically used for titration, but there are a few other applications. We're going to talk about titrations. We typically refer to the liquid in the burette as the titrant, and the chemicals in the titration flask as the analyte. To get started, mount your burette on a burette stand while making sure it's not tilted. You might need to check the burette from both the front and the side to make sure that the burette is truly vertical. At the bottom of the burette is a PTFE stopcock and glass tip. These are usually removable for cleaning, so make sure that your stopcock is firmly attached to the main part of the burette. When the handle of the stopcock plug is perpendicular to the burette, the stopcock is closed, so no liquid should flow through. When the handle of the stopcock plug is parallel to the burette, the stopcock is fully open, so you should get a steady stream of titrant flowing through the tip. When you adjust the handle of the stopcock plug to an angle somewhere between perpendicular and parallel, you should be able to carefully control the rate of flow through the stopcock. When doing a titration, you want to be able to add the titrant dropwise. Just as a note, if liquid flows through the closed stopcock, or if liquid doesn't flow through the open stopcock, then you probably have a problem that needs to be fixed. Ask your instructor for help. The best way to fill a burette is using a long stem funnel like this one. Don't ever attempt to pour your titrant into the burette without using a funnel. When filling the burette, it's not uncommon for the funnel to fill up with liquid faster than it drains into the burette, so pour your liquid slowly to avoid overfilling. If you do overfill, the titrant will spill down the length of the burette and onto the bench top. If there is water in your burette because it was recently cleaned or rinsed, you might need to pour a small amount of your titrant through the burette to avoid dilution. Usually, a few milliliters will do the job. When you first fill your burette, there's no need to precisely fill it to the 0 mark. Usually, the tip of the burette will be empty, so you will need to open up the stopcock and allow liquid to flow into the tip. Often, there will be a bubble that forms in the tip. It's best to open up the stopcock fully to allow the flow of titrant to force that bubble out. You might need to gently tap the burette to help the bubble clear the tip. To avoid wasting titrant, you can collect the liquid titrant in your flask that you used to fill the burette. Once you've cleared the bubble, it's time to fill your burette to the desired level. When you use a burette, you are measuring by difference. Some people are under the impression that you must fill the burette to exactly 0.00 milliliters every time you're about to start a titration. I'm going to discourage you from doing that. Instead, fill the burette to somewhere between 0 and 1 milliliter, and take a measurement of your starting volume. Then, after you've completed your titration, you'll need to read the burette again to get your final volume. The difference between those two numbers will be the volume of titrant used in your titration. Now, let's talk about how to make a reading. You want the level of the meniscus to be at eye level. If your eyes aren't at that level, you might need to lower the burette down so that you can read it more easily. Alternatively, you could use a step stool to raise you and your eyes up to the level of the meniscus. When it comes to reading the meniscus, you want to give yourself a high contrast background to make the graduations on the burette stand out as clearly as possible. Most burettes have dark graduations, so a white background is ideal for making consistent measurements. A popular method for reading the burette is to use an index card with a dark black line drawn in with a marker. Then, when you look at your meniscus, you want to read where the bottom of the meniscus is on the graduations. Even when you use this method, you need to be consistent about how you hold your index card. Notice here that when we move the index card up and down, the highest contrast point on the meniscus appears to move around. I'm going to recommend placing the black line about 1 milliliter below the level of your meniscus. Again, the most important thing is to be consistent with your technique. Most burets have graduations to the nearest tenth of a milliliter, but that doesn't mean you should record your measurements to the nearest tenth of a milliliter. Like with any analog measurement, the last significant figure that you write down should have some uncertainty. So, when making an analog measurement, you should record all the digits you can see and then estimate the next digit. In this case, that means recording the volume to the hundredths of a milliliter. When you're doing a titration like we are here, you want to have fine control over how much titrant goes into your titration flask. This is where you will carefully adjust the handle of your stopcock so that you can add drop by drop. In fact, if you are very close to the end point of a titration, I recommend rinsing the sidewalls of your titration flask with some DI water, just in case there are some unreacted droplets of titrant on those sidewalls. Then, you can proceed to add another drop of titrant. If you are being very precise, you can even let a fraction of a drop of titrant hang off the end of the glass tip. You can then rinse the tip with a bit of DI water into the titration flask. This is how the experts get that perfect light pink color when using phenolphthalein as an indicator. I hope this video helps you to get the best data possible next time you use a buret. If you like this video, or if you have additional questions or suggestions, let us know in the comments. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you'd like to see more content like this. Thank you for watching.